Swiftly on. So this is the sixth work package, BioDiv-FAIR-Checker, which we keep calling BioDiv-FC, and then people think that we're talking about a football club, but maybe that's at least one way to remember what it's all about. Basically, the challenge that we identified was that across the biodiversity domain, at least, we have a lot of data sets that are extremely heterogeneous in terms of where they're sitting, in terms of the metadata that have been collected that describe those data sets, and in terms of how those metadata are exposed in the repositories that they're sitting in. So whether or not they're actually machine readable or if it's just very inaccessible tables. And so this means that when you take a generic kind of fair assessment tool, we're often scoring extremely badly with these kind of generic fair assessments. So the researchers think that they have deposited their data sets in the correct place. The funding agencies don't have the means to follow up and understand whether this has been done. So it's a bit of a tick box exercise. So we want to turn this tick box exercise into something a little bit more meaningful with the BioDiv FC. So to make these evaluations reflect more the reality of the situation. And so what we're building is firstly this kind of domain-aware assessment baseline, where we're defining essentially key attributes, if you like, that should be present for different types of biodiversity data, from the genomics to the digital specimens to even ecology and time series data. Then trying to make this machine actionable, basically, so to translate these into profiles that can then be read off to have a proper scoring of whether or not the metadata are present and whether or not they are meaningful. And basically putting this all together through the archive repositories where these data sets are sitting to deliver this plugin for the existing FAIR-Checker software so that it now is better reflecting the needs of the biodiversity domain. And so we start off by creating what we call a type, which is this set of properties or attributes. And we started with biosample and sample at bioschemas. And Nick, who's sitting at the back there, will be able to answer all your questions about that during the break or over dinner. Then step two is moving on to create the profile. So this is kind of tailored to community needs. It's supposed to be reflective of what they would like to see and how they want to understand that. But importantly, it's not just giving you a score and saying you're bad, but where you fail or where you are incomplete, it's going to try to offer you meaningful suggestions of how you could improve. So for example, here you should describe the access policy of in your metadata, or you should include information about the license of your metadata. Overall, the idea is to take this existing infrastructure, existing tool for generic fair assessments and tailor it to biodiversity datasets. So we have better understanding of compliance and therefore accessibility and reusability.